Hello and welcome. Today we're making a World Mission Rosary, and just to go over that real quick, if you're not familiar with the rosary, I'm just going to go over the colors and then I'll put a link to more information in the to go with the video. So green is for praying for Africa, blue is for the islands of the Pacific, white or clear in this case is for Europe, red is for the Americas, and yellow or gold is for Asia. So what you will need is the cord. So this is thin cord. In this case it's bonded cord, which just helps with fraying, but you could use any cord and then just use the nail polish on the end. So also have nail polish, or if you want to use glue, of course you'll need scissors. And we're going to use a tool this time. Usually in these videos I've been using my fingers, but I learned how to use the tool, so we're using the tool this time. There's two different ones here, and these are both from Our Lady's Rosary Makers. This one is specifically for use with the thin cord. This one can be used with thicker cord or the thin cord, so this will be the one that I'll use, but they both work the same way. You'll of course need the colored beads, so you have 10 Hail Marys in each color. This starts with the green, so you have a green bead here for the Our Father, well the glory bead at the beginning, but then also the Our Father to start the decade. So you need 11 green, then you need 11 blue up here, but then you also need a blue down here, so that's 12 blue. You'll need 12 of the clear or white, 12 of the red, and 12 of the yellow, just because if you want to do the starting colors the same way. You'll of course need a crucifix, and that should be everything. So the cord length, they recommend 60 inches, but that's if you want to leave more space. I do a more compact rosary, and so this is 55 inches, but just depending on how much space you want, like right here where the cross is, if you wanted to make this longer, of course you'll need more cord, and if you want the space here, you can make that space longer. You could also make the space before the knots longer, so you do want a little bit of room to move the beads while you're praying the rosary. Of course you don't want it to be stiff. So this is bendy, but I haven't given a whole lot of extra space. If you want to give more space here, then just go with the 60 inches instead of the 55. But this is 55. So if you're going with the 60 inches, you'll want to start off with 8 inches excess. If you're going with the 55 like I am, 5 inches will be fine. So I'm just going to measure 5 inches real quick. Okay, so I have that on the 5 inches off the end here. So I'm just going to hold that so I know where it is. And then I'm going to take the tool and I will put this cord, again keeping track of where the 5 inches is approximately, into this groove here. So the 5-inch end is going down to the bottom of the tool. The longer end is going up through the top of the tool. And then I'm going to take this long end and I'm going to wrap it down. So I'm making like I'm crossing over the cord here. It makes sort of an X, and then I'm wrapping it 4 times down. Okay, so it'll look like this. I've wrapped it 4 times down. You have this little end sticking out, and again I've wrapped it down the tool. I then take this long end here and I put it up this groove so it comes out the top. I pull that till it's tight, and then I'm going to pull off this knot. It's still pretty loose, and then I tighten it down to the position I want it in. That's, matters more when you actually have beads on there. But okay, so I've tightened down this knot. So I have this 5-inch excess. on the end. That'll be for when I come around to do to connect the sides of the rosary together at the end. But now I start off with my green bead, so I'm going to go ahead and string on my first decade. So 10 of these beads on here. Also, before doing this, if you don't have the bonded cord, if you're using other cord, it's a good idea to put some glue or nail polish on the ends prior to starting. Because I'm using the bonded cord, I'm not worrying about that until the very end with the final knots. Okay, so then I have my first decade. So I'm going to take the tool again. I'm holding the beads down here, the base of the tool. Put the cord in this groove. And just like I did before, I'm going to take that long end and I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to wrap it down 4 times. Okay, so it crosses over, it pins down that cord, wrap down 4 times, just like I did before. I'm going to take this long end and put it through the chute. Oops. Tighten it down. Make sure the cord stays where I want it to. Okay, and then I just pull it off, and then I wiggle it down into position while I'm tightening it down, and that can be a little tricky to get used to. And that's where you again decide how much space you want. You do need at least a little space, so I've given probably the minimum amount of space between just this tiny bit, so that it still bends. But you could give more space here if you want to. You'll just want to make sure that space is consistent for all of your decades. So then you put on your Our Father bead. In this case, it'll be blue because that's the next color. And then this knot will go tightly against it because your Our Father doesn't need to move when you're praying it. That just really applies to the Hail Marys. So I wrap it down same way 4 times. Put this long end through. Cord hooked on things here. Alright, and then I pull that off and tighten it down. Okay. Alright, so I have a knot on both ends. And then I'm just going to continue it the same way for all the decades. So I'm just going to actually switch over to one that's further along. So this one I already have the decades done all the way to the end. So again, started with green, went to blue, then this clear or white, and then the red, then the yellow. Have a knot at the end. So now I'm going to take these two and line them up. And this is where you just kind of check and make sure everything looks good. You could wiggle things around if you need to, but as long as you are pretty consistent with your where you tighten down the knots, the space that you left, it should look fine at the end. So you have these 2 knots lined up, and you're actually going to then put them both in this in the tool, both ends in the tool. So you have the beads on both sides, and you're just going to take you have the 2 cords here. You're going to wrap both of them down over, and you can just do that twice because it's doubled, so it'll be like 4 times. Okay, so you just wrapped both down the same way as you've done before. And then it can just be a little trickier to get these in because you have so much cord now in this tool. But you're just going to put both of these ends up through the same as you would before. It's just 2 instead of 1. You pull it through, You wiggle this off, and you're going to leave a little bit of space. You want to keep those sides lined up with each other, and you tighten it down. You might need a little wiggling to get that how you want it. Make sure that's tight and lined up. Okay, so then you have those two together. I just left a little space. You can choose how much space you want there between your knots. So then you're going to just take the long cord that you still have, and you're going to finish this up. So you'll take your green, put that on, and make another knot using your tool. Wrap it down. Whoops. Wrap it down 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it up through. Tighten it right up against it. And then you put on your 3. So in this case, we're going to go blue, clear, red, just so the colors stay in the same order as they are in the rosary. And then grab that tool again, and just like the Hail Marys, wrap it around. I'm just going to show you what it looks like when you have your first wrap. That's how it looks before then you do the others. Okay, then that goes up through. Tighten that down. Okay. Then you're going to put on your last bead, your yellow bead, and then you need to go backwards with the crucifix. So we'll put the crucifix on, and then grab that tool. We'll leave some extra space because you don't want the crucifix to be right up against your bead. And then wrap it down. Oops. Then wrap it down. Through. Wiggle that off. And so then we want that knot to be close to the yellow bead, like right up against that yellow bead, and to give some extra space before the crucifix here. So then you have your little ends there, and it's nice if these are similar lengths, so it balances on either end. So if you just kind of eyeball that. Okay, then all you have to do is cut off your ends. The little excess that you have. And then you put on your glue or nail polish, whichever the case may be, whatever you have handy. Just to seal those ends. And then you have your World Mission Rosary. So So God bless you, and happy rosary making and praying.